everybody. Welcome.
Yay.
We have a surprise in-person guest with me. Mark, OG&Z, who you see in the chat, is here with me today. He came and helped me pack some stuff up. So he hung out for the show. So he's here in person tonight.
Nice.
So I am super excited. These are some of my favorite people below us. We have George the Antique Nomad, as well as Marybeth and Laura. And they haven't been on in a while, either of them. So super happy to have them on. And I'm glad Mark is here. You can actually see him instead of just seeing him in the chat. So I am going to make George and Marybeth and Laura. I guess I could move and let Mark introduce himself too. I might do that. All right. So here is George. Oh, wait, what did I do, Kat? I'm hitting. Oh, help. Okay, I'm apparently hitting wrong buttons. All right, for real, here's George.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm George, and I have the YouTube channel, The Antique Nomad, for those of you who might not have run into me before. I am an accredited appraiser. I've been a reseller in the real world for a few decades, and I've been an online reseller and in social media for, online, I mean, off and on for years, but kind of more seriously the past few. And I also, let's see, I travel coast to coast. I do antique shows. I conduct estate sales. So I just think so many different parts of the business are really fun and interesting to do. And I'm here to talk about anything and all of those.
Perfect. Here's Marybeth and Laura.
Hey, everybody. I'm Marybeth.
And I'm Laura.
And we're Fatbird Finds. And we are a reselling duo.
I see that you put the dynamic duo on.
Yeah, it asked for a subheading or whatever. I was like, well, what should I put? So I wanted to put something funny. So anyway, we've been doing this about 3 years, don't you say?
Yes.
So we're best friends. We're sort of new to the reselling world, but Laura's been in the business for a long time.
I guess we can't say that we're new anymore.
I guess not.
3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So we sell on eBay. We do live sales on our YouTube channel on Friday nights. We have Flippin' and Sippin', where we do a sale and all kinds of other stuff. And what else? Oh, and on Whatnot now.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. Thanks, Kat.
Perfect. Look, here's Mark. Again, this is he objected. All right, there's Mark.
My name is Mark, OG&Z. I'm on YouTube now, or I've been on YouTube. Been reselling for consistently for 2 years, but I've been on eBay for probably 20 years. And
hopefully he'll make some videos.
I have another video coming out. Number 2 is coming out probably this week.
Hey.
You gotta stay on him to get his second video out.
I need constant pressure.
I forgot we were big. Hi, Tiffany in the house.
Hey, Tiffany.
Julian is also here. Bearded Thrift Machine came in. Thank you. I don't know if Kayla's there too, but thank you for coming in. Kayla and Julian will be on the show as guests coming up soon, which will be really different after him being the co-host. He's coming on as a guest with us with his wife. They're going to come on separately. Oh, yeah? They're going to be our 2 bottom spots. So that'll be a great show for sure. All right, let's see. Sherry Aldridge has the first question and says, if she starts an eBay store. Oh, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you didn't let Rod introduce himself.
Me and Rod don't because we're always here. I did. How long did I let you? I think I let him.
First week, I think.
It wasn't just a week. It was like a month, I feel like. See, I gave him 4 times.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they let me introduce myself every week for about a month, and then everyone kept asking, who are you? Where's Julian?
Exactly.
We did get that for a long time. I think have mostly, I've still seen it, but I think everybody knows Rod now. And they'll be really confused when Julian is back on the screen with Rod.
Right.
Then they're not going to know what. Yeah.
Just for old time's sake, put Julian up there.
Oh, yeah, he could. Oh, yeah, no, that would really confuse them. Sherry said, so if she starts her store, will her items listed be brought into the store, or does she have to start over?
I think they carry through, don't they? I mean, there's some way you can do that. Yeah.
automatically.
I just did it,
don't
and
have to do
it was
anything.
easy. But I had a friend helping me do it who'd already done it before. But I think it just was pretty automatic.
Yeah, it is. Look, see, they accept you, Rod.
We really don't have a choice at this point.
For the first time in history, Snowberry Vintage is right. Mark is not
And I just
late.
put in there. No late fee.
He is not
I
paying a
wasn't late
late
last
fee.
week either, but
Oh.
I paid anyway.
He paid last week, but he wasn't late. All right. Oh, I'm going to put both of these up. And George, I feel like you might be able to help her. So it's a two-part question. She says a few years ago, she bought 2 very heavy cobalt blue and gold plates. And she was going through her death pile and found them. And she looked them up. They're John F. Kennedy's last press conference dinner. So is there somewhere you can suggest she gets them appraised? And she said she's seeing the sales price going for $3,000 on up. So would you suggest her to just use the sold price, or would you suggest an appraisal?
I think in this case, I would be more concerned about authentication than anything else, making sure the back stamp on the plate is exactly the one that was used, because if it was used at his last press conference dinner, it means that it was part of a service that they were using for other similar events. So it's possible there could be other versions of it, other iterations of it. And the fact that that's going that high may have to do with the fact that it was there for his last press conference. So you want to make sure you're comparing apples and apples. So I think maybe authentication is more the issue than, I mean, she's got a number, so she doesn't really need an appraisal necessarily. She just needs to make sure that what she has is indeed what she believes it is, and can prove it to somebody who's going to buy. I have a Dwight D. Eisenhower plane from Air Force One that I'm still trying to sell, and I probably should have taken an offer I had on eBay for it, and I thought I could get a little more. So I'm still sitting on it, but that was the same thing. It had to be, yes, they made the same pattern in the White House, but it had to have the Air Force One back stamp to be worth the big money.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. We got a $50 super chat for Mr. Christopher. I buy chips. And he said he's arriving being lowered on a cable from a hovering helicopter, all the while waving to everyone and blowing bubbles. I said, what an amazing panel tonight. So I actually have a new super chat that you guys have not seen, and I am going to give it to you now. This is by Mr. Gino's Finds again. Here you go. Right now.
Oh, I
I forgot to turn the sound down. I just realized. So sorry if I blasted your ears. I didn't adjust the sound on that one. Gino makes me some amazing. Are you awake now out there in YouTube land? All right, let's see. We got that one. Oh, Sue wants to know, how often do you get diamond and where do you get diamond rings appraised? I have a black diamond ring I'd like to get appraised.
Definitely need a gemologist for that, particularly when you get into colored diamonds, because again, they can treat diamonds to color them. So you want somebody who's knowledgeable. And I prefer if you can find like an old line jewelry store, like a local store that has an appraiser who's a gemologist, but sometimes the chain stores do too. So it just depends on what you have in your area, but maybe get a couple of referrals and figure that you're probably going to pay, depending on what city you're in, maybe between $75 and $125 or $150 to have a good appraisal done. But that's going to give you everything you need. Now, the other thing when you do it with jewelry, oftentimes they appraise for insurance value, which means they're going to stick a huge high price on it in case it ever got lost or stolen. And gee, it just happened to get lost when the price of gold is up the roof. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get that. So make sure if you're wanting this for a resale appraisal, that you can get the insurance appraisal and brag to everybody, oh, look how valuable it is for insurance. But you're still going to want to know what is a realistic selling price as well.
Marybeth and Laura, do you find diamond rings? And if you do you get them appraised?
No, we don't deal in a lot of jewelry unless it's, costume jewelry. It's rare for us to find because so much of what we buy is at auction and in auction lots. And so it would be very rare for us to find anything, but we're lucky enough. I personally know a jewelry appraiser. So, it would be awesome if you're able to find that person in your area that you can form a relationship with if you come across jewelry often.
Yeah, that's one thing I wouldn't even have the first clue about. So we don't really even bid on fine jewelry lots because I don't know much about it. But I'm telling you what, after I've watched Kat on Whatnot for a little while, I'm about to find out a little bit more about jewelry. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on this one.
Saying hi to George. He has to make sure George knows he's waving to him. Dalton loves Mr. George.
Aw, feelings mutual.
I have sold a few diamond rings, and I sold them on Whatnot. I didn't get them appraised because they were small diamonds. I looked up for like the gold content. I tested them with my Presidium, and I was such low cost in. Like George was saying, these are rings that wouldn't be worth a $75 or $100, appraisal to me. Like I would be happy to get $75 to $100 for the ring. So I think definitely take the at least what you think the value and make sure it's worth getting appraised. Cause like mine, we're talking like teeny weeny, diamonds that are diamonds, but they're not enough to make them of significant value. But we do have a local jeweler here that will, I haven't asked them to appraise. They'll tell us how much they'll buy them for though, which isn't like an efficient, official appraisal. But then I can decide if I feel I can get as much as they're offering or more, or I could just sell it to them and have the money right away. Dalton is using Mark as a jungle gym. He does that to everybody. George can attest to that. He likes to climb on George too. And yes, Lynn is right. Sorry, Rod. Rod put that up. Definitely tell the appraiser your purpose. Because like George was saying, there's going to be different values for different purposes. Is that right, George? Like realistically,
Absolutely.
like the replacement value is not going to be as same as
Right, because replacement value, like say it's a custom ring, replacement value means you also have to pay for all the labor to make it over again. If you're doing fair market value, like for an estate settlement, that assumes that you have all the time in the world to sell it to the perfect buyer, and the perfect buyer knows as much as the seller, and everybody has the same information. Well, that's a perfect world scenario. That's not how things usually work. So retail is usually a little less than that. And then insurance is, we don't want to keep your claim open for years. We just want to give you enough money that you'll leave us alone and feel like we paid you for the thing that you lost. And so that's usually the highest end. So absolutely, she's right. The purpose of the appraisal is the most important thing, because that tells you as an appraiser what value the person needs to have for their purposes.
And yeah, and on that subject, George, you made me remember this that you taught me, and my mom taught me a long time ago, but I had the phone call today. I worked at Lehman's today, and the lady called and she said, my mom has passed away. We're trying to settle her estate. Do you have anyone there that can come out and appraise, items? And I said, no, whatever. But she said, anyway, in the conversation, she said, well, if you were to, I said, Mom could help you know about how much stuff is worth. And then she said, well, would she want to buy it? And I said, well, that's different. She can't really appraise it and tell you, fair market value, and then turn around and, buy it from you, because then you're not really getting a fair idea of what, you might not be from an appraiser getting a fair idea if they were pricing it, of course, to buy, Right. So that's different too, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that, definitely true. And, you can definitely go out. Oftentimes that is the thing. I get called a lot for appraisals, and really they just want somebody who seems trustworthy to give them ideas about the value of things, and they just want to sell it to them. And it's fine for you to be that person. Just don't say, I'm coming to appraise your stuff, and then turn around and say, oh, well, it's worth this, but I'll buy it from you, because that's super fishy. If you're going out as a buyer, you can give them lots of information so they feel like you're honest and knowledgeable, and give them the information they need. On the other hand, don't be a sucker. Early on in my career, I drove like 3 hours all the way out to the coast of Washington from Seattle. And I got there and the guy took me through the house, and he knew I was an appraiser. And as soon as I got there, he said, well, I just want to sell this stuff, so tell me what you would pay. So I told him what I would pay. And then the next weekend he had an estate sale and put my prices on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
So I learned after that, it works both ways. Know what you're doing before you go.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna put Sue's question up since he's sitting here. He is doing better, but he's not 100%. We took him back to the doctor today.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, I was hidden last week because I was laying in bed with him sick. He had strep throat, and he still is having like a runny nose and stuff. So they told us to try Flonase and gave us some stronger antibiotics. So he has been acting like a normal 4-year-old, however, even though he's still having issues. And if Mark gets sick now, you know why. I've tried to tell him to stay away from Mark, and it has not worked. So it is all Dalton's fault if Mark gets sick. Deborah said, I've been considering reselling as a profession to get away from 35 years of managing. With the economy in poor shape, would you recommend a test drive first?
Okay, well, my first question is, where are you that the economy is in poor shape? Because I don't actually see that, to be honest. I know some people are holding back now a little bit more because they're concerned about things that are happening with politics and the markets, but I don't actually sense that there's a retail recession happening. I'm not seeing that in my business. So I wouldn't let that stop you. But the other thing is, reselling actually sometimes does really well if there is economic hardship, because people are looking for deals. And if you're able to find stuff like Kat does, where you're paying, I pay too much, I admit, for a lot of the stuff that I sell, because I want to be a specialist. I want to have certain things for certain customers. And but where Kat buys, when she's paying 20 cents on the dollar for things on average, for example, you will be the person that people will come to. And it's fairly recession proof because people still want and need things. They just might not have the budget to go get them new. I know in 2008, when the economy really was bad, people were all panicked, and we just started doing estate sales. And all of a sudden, everybody was coming to estate sales because they all wanted stuff, but they wanted to get it cheap. And we actually did really well at a time when the economy was really not good. So I wouldn't let timing be the determinant. The determinant really is, if you want to get away from 35 years of managing, do you have merchandise? Do you have a little bit of a nest egg? Do you have a way to support yourself? When I started as a dealer, I thought I better have 6 months income set aside just in case I have a bad month here along the way. Honestly, it never really happened. I didn't end up needing that, but I felt a lot more comfortable with it. So I think going into it feeling like you're ready, and I think I'll throw this over to Laura, because she had a lot of decision making before she went full time in this. So I think she can tell you about it a little more.
Yeah, I think that Laura is really the person to answer your question. But I do want to say, however, before Laura went full time, we did sort of test drive the reselling world. We started out very, very, very small. I'm just a handful of listings on eBay, and, selling maybe 5-10 items a week, if that. So we definitely test drove it first, got ourselves established, and built as we went. And so that allowed Laura to make that dive. So I'll let you get into that.
Oh yeah. So, but I agree with George, just from not the fat bird finds, because we only have, our last couple of years, but just going back to Layman's, that reselling store, it's, the business is really great. I mean, it's not, I haven't seen any downturn in sales whatsoever. Maybe an uptick in sales. So I'm like George. I don't think the reselling economy is all that down. Maybe one particular platform might be down over another,
No, they just don't
I've
have
heard some people
them.
say eBay might be down a little bit, like for cat, but just in general, it's an okay time. I think George would agree. It's an okay time economy wise. I think, but yeah, the test drive should be. Do you know how much time it takes? You know, do you realize? You know, depending on where you're reselling, if you've got to ship, do you know how to do that? Do you know how much time it takes? I really didn't realize how much time the shipping would take. Still working on that because I'm really slow at it.
But that's, that's a great reason to test drive and start small. Don't give yourself a goal of 50 listings a day or anything. You might have to sell 50 items a day and you may not be ready for that. So start slow, see how it's going, and you can always increase.
Yeah, so a lot of people know, I've been selling for over 20 years on eBay, but I actually left my corporate job last year to go full time. And I was pretty much going full time with selling and full time working, and just became such a drag on me and my family. But the biggest thing I tell you is, if you're working, first off, if you're working management, you have downtime to do things that you can do listings at work, you can do listings before work, and do listings after work. So, what I would recommend doing is if you're not selling right now, you need to start selling first to make sure that it is something you do enjoy and do like, because there is a lot of it that does suck sometimes. There's, like I said, like the shipping, or sometimes the listing, or getting returns. Like that's, some people can't handle that. So just make sure it's something that you do enjoy and do like. But the biggest thing is you want to make sure you're happy. Money's not everything. So if you're not it sounds like you're not happy just for the way that I'm reading that question, and you want to make sure you're happy. So first thing, look at your budget, make sure to see what things you can cut out, because if you can take a pay cut, even if you take a pay cut to leave your job and you can cut things out and be happy, that's more important than anything else, especially if you've been working for 35 years of management. So you've been doing this long enough. It's time to do something that you enjoy, that you want to do. So, and when we talk about a down economy, here's the thing: when it comes to reselling, you make your money in the buy. So when we went through the pandemic, I bought out so many collections at that point in time. I actually was putting out so much more money out in the economy because I was getting things on 10 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar, because people were losing their jobs, people were doing stuff, but people had needed to sell stuff off. And at that point in time, I had the income to, buy big collections and stuff like that. But I was able to build my business to the next level by doing that as well. So it doesn't matter if the economy's down, you're still going to be a market to buy. If the economy's up, you're still in the market to buy, especially if you deal with high-end collectibles. Like George deals with high-end antiques. I deal with high-end graded sports cards, video games, comic books, stuff like that. Yes, will those markets go down? Maybe slightly. Maybe someone's not paying $150,000 for a graded card. Now they're paying $100,000 for it. But there's still money. Those people aren't going to be impacted on that level. So you just have to pick and choose. And if you just keep focusing on what you have to focus on, the economy doesn't matter at all if it's up or down, because we've been through it for many, many years, and you'll find ways to make money. You just pivot. That's the only thing you got to do.
Mark.
I think the words here that are standing out the most is test drive, and I definitely think you should test drive it, considering you're trying to think about doing something different than managing. I was in management for probably about that same amount of time, 25 to 30 years. And I pivoted. Unfortunately, I pivoted straight to trying to do full-time, but you shouldn't do that. You should be testing it, as you had pointed out there, doing it as a test drive. Doing things around your house is how actually my next video is going to be similar to that, which is just test driving it by picking out things that you don't use around the house. Try to sell that. Start small, see how it picks up, learn from Hat's videos and everybody's on the panel's videos, and just kind of build without getting rid of your full management job. Start building small and work your way up, and start putting some money aside so you have a nest egg to start building and start buying for reselling in the future.
What were you going to say, George? I saw you.
Oh, I just was going to say that all of that makes a lot of sense. And I think the other thing is that, maybe if you're just starting out, specialize a little bit, find a niche, find something you really enjoy that you can develop a market for, and be that person. When Rod talks about, I do sports cards and I do comic books, well, as you get more of a reputation for that, you start to trade up. You get better and better customers, you get more of a reputation, and you can get repeat sales from the same buyers. And for somebody just starting out, that's probably easier than just doing a potpourri of stuff and seeing what sticks. So maybe start where your passions lie and see if that drags you to the next place.
Yeah, selling, it's so important. George make a really good point. Selling what you enjoy to sell is the biggest mistake a lot of people do. If you jump into this and you're just selling things that you hate, you're not going to do it. So it'll feel like work. So if you sell the things that you personally enjoy or that you like to find, it's going to feel like you're on a treasure hunt every single day. You're going to have so much fun. You know, when I have to go through and clean 1980 action figures, and you know, it takes me back to my childhood. Like I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm back in Toys R Us, walking down the aisle with my mom, picking out toys. You know, now I'm sitting there cleaning them up so I can give someone else that enjoyment. That goes a long way. So make sure you find your passion, like George said. It's very important.
Sorry, I'm arguing with a 4-year-old, which is not very conducive.
She's losing.
I am losing. So for me, as far as like the whole test drive thing, I built it up while I was still working. So I kind of have two sides to that. And I feel like for me, I quit when I knew I could make enough income from it. However, so I would say if you're miserable at your management job, if it were me, I would walk away and figure it out. But if it was tolerable, like I could tolerate, and then I cut my hours down and cut my hours down until I just quit, you know, so there's two, like if I was waking up in the morning, not wanting to go to work, you know, and that's when it's a point I know, are you going inside? Okay, I love you. That look he just gave me. Okay, he's going inside with his daddy. He said, yeah.
Yeah. Done with you, Mom.
He was done. So if you're miserable, and I do want to point out, she did say she does have a nest egg, so she has some built up and plenty of inventory. So she said she might just jump in. Oh, Rod, I'm gonna bump yours because there was one ahead of that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I mean, if you're miserable, you have a nest egg and some security, I would probably do it, you know? Like if that's really what you want to do it. And I used to be on the opposite side of that coin and say, no, make sure you can. And now though, like really, if you're not happy and you believe you can do it, I think you can figure it out. But it's hard and it's a lot of work.
Especially if you just feel like a number too, because like that was my biggest thing for my corporate job. I felt like a freaking number, and I put in my 2-week notice. And I was supposed to have all these bonuses. I talked about this on here before, but I'm so passionate about it because I was so miserable. I was depressed getting up in the morning and stuff like that for work. And I put my notice in, and I did great stuff for the company, and they just did give two craps about it and stuff like that. So I literally wrote the CEO an email, said I quit, walked outside, grabbed my YouTube camera, and I smashed my monitors in my street. And I said, there's my new 2-week notice. And I posted it on YouTube. And that was my
They don't call him the scoundrel for nothing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. I'm happy, you know?
Yeah, even at the hospital, as short as they are on nurses, I don't feel like they gave two rats if I walked out. You know, that it didn't
They
matter.
got the picture when you started cutting your hours back then.
Yeah. But it's so big. It's a corporation, just like any big corporation. You know, you're just a number.
I'm sure they put a part-time nurse to fill your spot the next day, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or they're paying a traveler a lot more money than I was making to fill my spot. So, you know, hey. Jessica, and I don't know who all uses List Perfectly. Jessica sent $5 super chat and said, when copying my listings to List Perfectly, and I'm glad you asked this before you did it. Yes. Can I transfer all at once, or should I do in small batches? So if you don't, just say you pass.
I don't.
Yeah, pass.
Yeah, we don't use that either.
Small batches all day long.
Please,
I prefer small batches because that way you might get some errors that pop up, or there's little things you need to adjust and try to go back and forth, especially if you're going to do it on multiple platforms like Macari, Posh, and keep going down the list.
You know how many tabs that is?
Yeah, because every time you open one up, it's going to create a new tab. So if you're going to do, can you imagine having 1,600 open tabs on your laptop?
Yeah.
You would probably blow up.
That's just one platform.
I think when I did it, I only had 400 and it's still locked up. I did too many at one time.
Yeah, so I tell everybody we do 3 at a time to 3 platforms. So that's 9. And I was actually talking with somebody about this because she said she didn't like them because it locked up. It is not list perfectly locking up, my friends. It is your internet and your browser. It's not list perfectly. It's that your internet can't handle 1,600 tabs all at once. Yeah. So please, you will not get far with trying to do them all. If you have amazing internet, I would say the most I would do at a time would be 10. And that's with amazing internet. If you're in the country like me, I do 3. If you have moderate, I would say do 5. I would not do more or it will lock it up. And I'm going to give Jess, this is a new Dalton one, even though he got mad at me and left and went inside. Here's a new Dalton super chat.
Hi, I'm Dalton.
That's so cute.
As if we didn't know.
I know. I think we all know he's Dalton.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I don't want to talk over anybody. I'm sorry. I just wondered if you have heard that List Perfectly is working towards adding Whatnot to their repertoire.
I have not heard if they are or not. Did you hear that?
I heard that they are.
Oh, I did not hear it. There's a link you can cross post from. Well, you actually import all your Poshmark listings into your Whatnot closet, but the limit's 500 and I have over 5,000. So I did 500. So if you wonder where 500 came from, that's where, but I didn't go beyond the 500. But when it was a 1 click, and it was 1 click, you just review the category, the weight, and then it goes into your store on Whatnot. So I did do that with 500 of them. But the notification for the sales isn't great. I have somebody, and I am going to send her some great free stuff that bought stuff a month ago from my Whatnot store, and I didn't get notified. And she's been super patient. I just emailed her before we came on the show. I'm like, I'm sending you some good stuff, like some free stuff, because she's been so patient with me, because there's not it doesn't filter into like your next show or something. It just goes into like its own whatever. And we didn't see them for a month until like they emailed. So I wish the notifications were a little different on the store, but I wish they would go into like the next sale, because I do 5 sales a week. So I would love if they would just throw it into the next show. But I guess if some people aren't doing regular shows, that might not be a good option for them. So yeah. Okay. Scott wants to know, what is your favorite find of the month? It does not have to be the most profitable, but what was your favorite find?
Hey, Scott, good to see you out there. My favorite find this last month was, I'm actually doing a video preview at 9:15 tonight on my channel, and it's by What Sold, a little plug. It's by What Sold on eBay out of my last group of things. And one of the things on it is this big Barbini vase, and I really debated putting it on eBay because it was such a cool piece, and I kind of paid a lot for it, but it sold and it did fine. It was not my most profitable thing, but it was my favorite thing that I had found in a long time, just because Barbini is such amazing good quality glass, and this thing weighed 12 pounds just by itself and was like this big, and everybody is like, you are insane to want to ship that. And I just thought, no, this is going to fly. Somebody's going to really love this, and they did. So that was my favorite find this month.
That's awesome.
I think I'm going to have to say, we found an aluminum Christmas tree last week, and it's not necessarily the tree itself, but it's how it came to be. So we were like stalking this yard sale that was posted on Facebook Marketplace for a few days, and they had posted this aluminum Christmas tree. It was really pretty. And, Laura and I were talking about how early should we get up? How early is it acceptable for us to go stand in this person's driveway? Anyway, we're having this big conversation, and I had left. Laura had left. We went about our day, and then later in the afternoon, I get this text from Laura, and she goes, "I'm looking at the tree," and I was like, "What?" because the yard sale was the following day. I was like, and she just kept sending me these pictures. So she had just like gone and imposed herself on these people at their house.
I know, and I don't do stuff like that.
She never does anything like that. So she got it though.
Yeah. We got a really great story out of it. But, you know, and then, but our other find, that could be your favorite.
Okay.
Our other find is we hit an online auction, which is really our favorite way to buy, just price wise and everything. Like, I love when Rod says that, you know, you make your money in the buy, which is true. And so we found this online auction. It was, we found it on a high bid, but it was this little auction house's very first auction ever. So they didn't really have a huge following, and the stuff went for almost nothing. I mean, it went as cheap as you could possibly imagine. So like, and it was a deer collector. So she collected mid-century modern deer of all sorts and sizes. So there would be lots, you know, big box lots that went for $1 and $3 and, you know, $4. And
so we've ended up with probably over 500 deer for pennies. You know, it's just unbelievable, and we've found some really great ones.
Yeah,
and as we've dug so far,
so that's super fun.
Oh man, probably on Monday I went to a giant flea market, and I'm really getting into a lot of like vintage clothing and stuff like that. And I actually found, I'm actually gonna keep these for myself, but some old 1986 Spuds MacKenzie Budweiser hats. So I ended up getting a couple of those. I love that dog as a kid. I don't know why. He's an ugly little dog, but he's cute at the same time. So, and I found some old Spuds MacKenzie hats I'm going to rock myself. So I love my hats, and yeah, so that was probably my favorite find. It was not worth much. They're probably worth $15-20, but they just put a big smile on my face when I got them. Kat?
What's your favorite find?
Oh,
where it's weird because on the screen, like, never mind. Okay, I'm letting Mark go.
I was gonna not have one because I haven't sourced in like 3 months. I had a huge bulk buyout. I haven't gone anywhere, so I didn't really have any finds. But inside of my bulk buyout, I had a 80s Billabong corduroy jacket. Kind of brought me back to the day. So that was my fun find of that. I actually sold it for $100, so it was pretty cool. Kind of brought me back when I was younger.
Yeah, and my favorite find was my most profitable. It was a beautiful unsigned Hobey bracelet, which I've never been lucky enough to have and see in person. I sourced it from an online auction for just under $500, and it sold in 6 hours for $1,500. So I did not get to have it in my possession very long. But I think with those high dollar brand names, it's nice to have them and hold them and touch them. And it was a beautiful, beautiful. I showed it like every day on Whatnot till I shipped it out because it was just so beautiful and just very, very well made. And it was a really great profit. But I think to be able to learn to identify some of that stuff, you have to touch it and like feel it and know, you know, I feel like I can identify them better that way. So that one is mine. Scott, let's give you the beach. We're going to give you the beach, Scott. Thank you so much. Here you go. Yay. Thank you so much, Scott. That one and the pillow fight. Miss Barbara, I think Miss Barbara is here tonight. Miss Barbara loves the pillow fight. There's a pillow fight with him and Brooke as well.
Since he gives a super
I saw that, Scott. I saw that. I saw that on your Instagram. If you guys aren't following Scott both on YouTube and Instagram, I don't scroll much. I actually saw Mark's story about the sending Poshmark offers, which I'll have a video out about that Thursday. And then I saw Scott's Scream Mask. I don't see very much on there, but I get to see a little bit. That is amazing. 8 into 800 is absolutely amazing, amazing profit.
Those that don't know, those Scream Masks, even if it's not first gen, they can actually sell really, really well. So first gen does sell for anywhere 500,000. Yeah, but the later ones, even the ones like second, third gen, some of those can still sell for $100 to $300. So I highly recommend you guys see the Scream Mask, pick them up if it's $1 or $2 because it's worth it to not miss out. So it's worth the risk.
Yeah, for sure. The Crimson Cricket wants to know if you can file a complaint against a buyer on eBay for not paying after the 4 days, and they have 0 feedback.
eBay just cancels the thing if they don't pay for me. I mean, they do it actually faster than I would. So I haven't actually had to deal with any of that, because if the payment doesn't come in, eBay just is like, nope, that transaction goes away. I don't know if you guys have that same thing or if it's just case by case.
We haven't had that particular problem. I had one canceled today, though. The favorite age-old one that my kid was playing with my telephone and made this order, so I had to refund that today.
That one too.
Dalton has bought stuff. Dalton has legit bought stuff. It does happen.
I remember you saying that, so I was very kind to the person.
He did take my phone today.
Yeah, he could have done stuff. He had Mark's phone earlier. He could have went shopping.
Yeah, that was a big problem with Alexa in the very beginning. I guess where the people were saying that, where the kids were ordering stuff through Alexa and stuff like that. So
If there's no locks or no parental controls,
Yeah, so I would say I don't worry about filing complaints against them, because it's already like eBay knows they have a non-paid item, but you can set up to block buyers. I have it set up, I think, if they've had more than 2 in 6 months, you can set it up so those buyers, not necessarily that one, those buyers cannot.
Also, too, make sure you copy that person's name and add it to your block list, because then they can't come back later on to try to buy things from you.
Do you see what Scott put?
Yeah.
Scott's going to tell him his wife was playing on his phone. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm like, Lisa wants to know, and I feel like this is an opinion question. I don't feel like there is an actual factual answer to this. So how do you feel a negative feedback affects sales?
I have a very different feeling than my friend who helps me with my eBay. He is absolutely rigid about, we will give feedback. I make sure there's feedback on everything, and it's very important. And I honestly have had terrible experiences on eBay where the person had wonderful feedback and it made no difference. And so I've got to be honest, I don't think unless your feedback is really bad that anyone really is paying attention. I know that's not a popular viewpoint. We're all supposed to love feedback and worship it and honor it and make sure we give it. But if it were me, I'd just say, you know what, unless you do something really bad, let's just say we had a nice transaction and move on. I don't know. That's just my opinion, and most people don't share it.
I would agree with George. I'm not great at leaving feedback myself, and honestly, I rarely look at ours. I look at it sometimes, but it's rare. And if I'm a buyer going out on eBay, I agree, like George, unless it's like blatantly horrible, maybe I won't buy. But I mean, you can get bad experiences either way. You can get fantastic experiences either way. I think it's just so case by case.
So I'm going to go a different stance on this one. Negative feedback does impact you dramatically. And part of the reason for that here is, especially if you're see, I have over 6,000 positive feedback on mine. So if I get a negative feedback, not a big deal. It's not going to impact my percentages. But if you get 3 negative feedback and you have less than 100, that's going to put you under 98%. So if you're under 98%, you're below the top rated seller on eBay. So you have to be above the 98%. So below that, you're just going to hurt your algorithm. It's going to hurt. And especially if you have multiple negatives in certain categories, you can actually get penalized in those categories on eBay. So like if you sell electronics and you only sell 5 electronics in the last 90 days and 3 of those were returned, you're going to have a really horrible time. If you try to sell electronics in the future, they will ding you, or you can pay a higher fee to sell electronics in that category because you're considered high risk. So there is a little science behind it, but at the end of the day, and also too about leaving feedback, you guys need to set up your feedback to be automatic, so you guys don't have to go back and do that. So as soon as someone buys something in my store, someone buys something, automatic feedback gets left. But I mean, the biggest thing is that's why I fight every single feedback. If I get negative feedback for anything, I fight every single one of them. Even in neutrals, I fight, because it does impact over that 90-day period. It is a rolling 90 days, so they do fall off, but just keep that in mind for your overall just account health. The healthiness of your account is the biggest factor of it.
What you thought?
Yes, it does affect your sales.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You can expand on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Very
So for me, like I will tell you for the first time in years, I have 100% feedback on eBay. I'm like so excited about that.
You just hope you didn't jinx yourself.
Everybody knock on
Death, right? That was a kiss of death.
But like every time I got a negative feedback, my sales would be crap for 1 to 3 days. I feel like eBay punished me by pushing my other listings down in the algorithm.
Oh, wow.
And I definitely felt an impact. And now I will tell you the last 2 negatives I got removed because they were unfair negatives. And the 2 I had a year ago, honestly, were kind of their reason wasn't whatever. So if people read those negatives, I don't feel like they would have looked at me negatively, but I feel like the algorithm punishes you after a negative comes through, at least for, 24 to 72 hours. I think you really get, I think you get hit. So that's why if it's not legit, or if they've used feedback extortion, trying to get you a partial refund, if you don't give me this, I'll leave a negative feed, then you can get it removed. So I think it's important. I kind of ignore the neutrals. I don't feel like those hurt you, but the negatives I try to fight.
Especially if it's related to something that eBay has a requirement that you need to adhere to, and it goes against that, they're definitely going to ding you.
And I'll give you guys a little eBay hack here. Anytime I get a negative feedback, I email the buyer and try to work it out with them, because if that buyer's pissed off and they say something inappropriate to me or make some type of stupid comment right there instantly, that's going to get
He's saying he's like poking the bear.
Yep.
That is what
I'm not
right
poking the bear. I'm trying to. I try to work it out with them, and I say, "Hey, what's the issue? I want to work this out, something like that." But sometimes when people are spiteful and they'll just respond to me. I'm like, oh, there it is. It's going to be removed now. So
this is the guy that threw the monitor down the street. Remember this guy?
That's the scoundrel. You're talking to Rod now, all right? It's my personality. It's my pro wrestling personality, all right?
Poke the bear.
This is the picking part. That's the punching part, all right?
That's right.
Okay, anyways. Miss LaDonna wants to know, Marybeth, do you need more deer?
LaDonna, I need you to come over and help me go through the rest of them.
Hold on.
We have so many.
Miss Diane wants to know if any of us or any of you in the chat attended the Whatnot Seller Summit today.
No, I haven't really been active on Whatnot for a while now, so I haven't been keeping up. I know everyone else is getting more involved, so you guys should probably answer this.
I did not attend today. I couldn't do that, but I think it. Did you, Kat? Did you go? I mean, did you do it?
I was just whispering to Mark. The ones that I've been to, they've told me the exact same things repeatedly, and I do not feel they are worth my time. That is the politically correct way to answer that question. I think everybody should attend them at least once, but I attended twice. But a lot of it was very repetitive. And I will tell you, I gained a lot from it the first time. So let me clarify by saying that. But after that, it felt very, very repetitive to me. And it was a lot of good ideas. But again, they do them frequently. So if you miss today's, you can attend another one. They do give you some good ideas. But I don't feel like there's much added to the next one. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, because I obviously didn't attend it to know. Maybe there was new and exciting stuff. Rod, have you went to one?
I haven't attended this one, but I'm sure they probably did roll out some new stuff, because aren't they dropping the new dashboard?
Listen, yes, today. And listen, if there are any fellow Whatnotters in the chat, please, yay, hi, Miss Susan. Please tell me if you know how to clone to your shows on the new dashboard that starts tomorrow, because we have not been able to locate it. And we clone all of our buy it now, like our pens and stickers and things like that. And we cannot find on the new dashboard where to do that. So if there are other sellers in the chat, please, if you have figured it out on the new one, the old one is still available today, but as of tomorrow, it goes away. So I think it's going to be some scrambling and a little bit of craziness tomorrow and whatnot. That's my prediction.
You can do it on your phone, Kat. You can do it on your phone.
You can clone on your phone?
Yeah, really easy now. They changed it.
Or not from your store, but from another show?
Yeah.
How do you just pick the item and then, like,
yeah,
can you do it in bulk, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, we can go on to another question, and I'll grab my phone and look and see, and then I'll answer.
Okay, yeah, and tell me. Because, like, before, Marcia just gave us great news. They pushed it back to June 6th. We don't have to figure it out until then.
Now you got a
week.
week.
We're saved for another week. Yes. Okay. Miss Susan, who is a very, very big supporter of my whatnots almost every night, and they're hanging out with me, and I appreciate her, sent us $5 super sticker. I'm going to give her the pillow fight. I don't think the ladies have seen the pillow fight, or George. Here you go. Thank you so much, Miss Susan.
Public service announcement. Use your coupon for your eBay store because it expires tomorrow.
Yes. If you have not got your free eBay shipping supplies, if you have a store, definitely. And I actually this time forgot until about 2 weeks ago. So I forgot for over 2 months to use mine because Lynn was doing the listing. So I haven't, been in the eBay as much. Now I am again. But yeah, so definitely don't let that go to waste if you have a store. This is a fun question. I was today years old. So Mile High Mom said, I was today years old when I learned that Photo Room only allows 250 pics exported a month without a subscription. I will tell you, I have to have a subscription so I can do 50 photos at a room. I'm not for everything. So what is something that you recently learned?
About Photo Room or
anything? No, like
anything.
Life, George.
Subscription-based thing.
Not subscription.
Yes.
Anything.
Yes. Okay. What is anything I learned recently? Well, what would be relevant to this? I would say what I learned is that, my last flight of eBay stuff, I couldn't do any buy it nows because I was traveling. And so I had to do a 10-day auction and have it close in time for me to come back to do the shipping. And I learned that I actually get more money when I don't do a lot of buy it nows because people were actually willing to bid the stuff up higher than what I would have said at the buy it now. So that's what I learned.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
This is a hard question. This is not super recently, but like within the last year, I've learned that with the new Mac OS update, if you're an Apple or a Mac person, you can use your iPhone as a webcam with your Mac or your MacBook. So that is something that's really nice in a pinch. It's called Continuity Camera. It's a new update, so you can just plug in your phone via USB to your MacBook, or you can do it cordless. So you can take your phone around and it connects automatically to your Apple device. So I use Continuity Camera a lot. So that's
I know it, Rob.
So I was today years old when I found out that a calendar, knowing how to look at a calendar the right day, and realized that the coupon ends in June. I was looking at my wrong calendar. 8 years old, I know how to use a calendar, everyone, and your coupon actually goes for another month, end of June. All right, so
I'm sorry. I'm so red from laughing so hard. I love you, Rob. Okay, Mark, what did you learn?
I can't think of one, but I know
you haven't learned anything.
No.
Okay.
Not that I think of. I've been cooped up for 3 months in the same stuff, so I haven't really done anything different.
Yeah, he's saying what I learned is what he taught me, and that's that you can bulk send offers on Poshmark, which we are actually doing on the laptop. Mark is helping me while we're live. And I'm going to see if a second round produces the same result. So you can bulk. I sent 2,800 offers on Sunday.
Wow.
And I'm going to keep the cliffhanger rolling and not tell you. You have to watch on Thursday to see how many sales I got from it. And we are sending 2,800 out again right now. So that, from what I was told, is a newer feature. Do you know when that started?
I've been able to do it for as long as I can remember.
Somebody told me it was newer.
I've done it since I started Poshmark.
Oh, look, Sonny didn't know. Yes.
I've been doing it since I started Poshmark.
Yeah, you go to your closet, you hit the wrench, and you can bulk send out offers. I sent 2,800 offers.
Look, I made 3 cents on that one.
When did that start?
I'm telling you,
He said forever ago. We just didn't know.
I've been on Poshmark for a year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, George, I think you're the best person to answer this question. Does the Antique Nomad do appraisals?
I do. I am a certified appraiser, and I better apologize right up front to any of the people who have sent in. During the time that my mother was failing, I got a little bit behind, but I am catching up, and I am taking new appraisals, and you can go to TheAntiqueNomad.com and hit the appraisal button if you want to check out how that works. Some people just need a single thing looked at, and if it's not super expensive, I don't charge for it. If it's worth something, then I charge a nominal set fee. But sometimes people need, I've done several FaceTimes lately where people needed to walk through, a bunch of items, and it was just more efficient and cheaper for them to do it that way. So I do those sorts of appraisals. I also do the really hardcore ones where you sit down and do reports for insurance and probate and all that kind of thing. So the answer is yes.
Perfect. Cora wants to know, is there a way to add flat rate box shipping to the shipping choices? I'll just answer and say yes. There is small flat rate. They did take away the padded envelope. That is not an option on eBay. You can still choose that when you go to ship, but in new listings you can't, because they do anticipate the padded flat rate going away. So eBay has removed that from choices, but small, medium, and large flat rate. And it's just in the same section where you choose what you're shipping with. So instead of choosing priority mail, you'll choose priority mail small flat rate or priority mail medium flat rate. But the padded is gone. However, you can still ship padded. You can still ship them. It's just not an option anymore.
Right. It's just a package.
Yeah. It's like, it goes as a service though. Like, you don't choose priority and then the size. On the drop down, you have to choose priority flat, like all at once. Like, it's not a drop down. It's kind of, which could be confusing. Rocks to Be Me wants to know, does anyone know anything about eBay valet or concierge service that will sell for others? She said she has people asking her but doesn't have the time. So do any of us know of any services or people that will take on consignment?
Every place that I know that did that has eventually shut down and quit doing it because they couldn't find a model that made them enough money given the percentage that was going to eBay and what they had to do for it. Because by the time you charge for your time and everything, you might as well be just selling your own items, and that's what ends up happening. And so every place I know that used to advertise that as a service has gone away or taken that away from their services. So I don't know if that's true everywhere else, but the places that I sell, unless you have a friend who will help you, I don't know how you do that. Does anyone else have a different experience?
Yeah, I don't have anything, George, to add to what you said.
No, there used to be a ton of places, especially in when eBay was first starting, when people were doing all over. But eBay's taking their 15%, and then the consignment people were taking anywhere from 30 to 40% off it. At that point in time, you're better off just selling wholesale. To be honest with you, you're better off, if you like the source, and you can get stuff really cheap, and you have so much fun yard selling and thrift shopping. There's tons of Facebook groups, tons of resellers out there. Make some connections in your local area, see what they look for, and then go out. You can source and then you can just bundle up. And trust me, if I had some people in my area that did that for me, I would be tickled pink, because that saves me time sourcing, saves time me going out. If someone can contact me every month or every other week and had 50 items, 100 items for me to list, that's going to save me so much time. I would come in there, I would pay up for those items just for the fact that it saves me so much time. So that would be my recommendation to you is make some connections in your area, Facebook groups, or if you want to post in the chat where you're located. And we may have some people on here right now that may be in your same location, and you guys can talk it out, hook up with them, and maybe you sell to them for 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar, but you can still make a profit from that.
Any suggestions for consignment or somebody that
I
lists?
haven't heard it in so long.
Yeah,
There's no money
it's
in
been
it,
a
really.
long time. I will tell you one person I know, but I will tell you she's only going to do top dollar and rare vintage items, and that's Dana Crawford. She actually works for List Perfectly too. Her name on List Perfectly is Power Selling Mom, and she actually teaches people to do the consignment model. That has been her model for years. So check out Power Selling Mom, Dana Crawford. I've met her in person. We had lunch back when she worked for WorthPoint, and now she works for List Perfectly. But she does, and when I say, I'm talking like, $300+ as a general rule that I see her listing for others. So if it's lower priced item, like for me, I split and I only have done it for 2 people, and I am definitely not offering it. So please don't take this as that way. I would take almost a 60-40 split. I take 60, they get 40. So I would tell people that are wanting to consign it to be aware that they're not, if they see a sales price, they're going to probably get less than half of that from somebody who consigns it for them. So just a heads up.
Better off just selling, because you might get 50 or 60% of the value by just selling it.
Yeah. She said she doesn't have time to help people, but also beware, especially if you're doing auctions, you're getting into a whole different ballgame if you're selling somebody else's merchandise, which is not a tangled web I would like to weave for myself. Yeah. I'm going to answer this, and I've actually got these 2 gentlemen up top here on this row with me, and I'm kind of putting all of us out here a little bit I told him. Rod is aware. So Sandy is asking, what's the talk about bubble wrap? I'm confused. It seems there are shortages they send you. So there was a video put out recently. I can't remember his name. He ordered bubble wrap from 5 companies, and all of them shorted him. I'll sum the video up. But I'm going to tell you, me and these 2 guys that you see on the screen are currently waiting on bubble wrap to come, and we are going to remake that video, and we are testing it ourselves. So that's a little spoiler alert. We're waiting on different companies, and I saw that, and I want to test it myself.
And just to add to that too is, when you have these companies, and a lot of these companies are sourcing through China and other places, and when you do that, it is very common, because I used to have a contract with a company called Forever Collectibles, and I used to get bobbleheads and other things produced for Major League Baseball, NFL, and stuff like that. And I used to have a company called Sports Exclusives that used to do that. And when you are sourcing through a manufacturer overseas, what happens is your quality control, if you're not checking in over time, it will go down, because what a lot of companies do is they will cut costs. And when you have something simple as bubble wrap, you may get 700 feet for the first 3 months, but then it might be 660 or 650 or 500, because they're slowly cutting back on it, and you may not even know that. So that could not be the company's issue. It could be the people that they're going through, but they will do that so they can cut their costs overseas. And it's very common in the industry, in the manufacturing industry, that companies do that. So that's kind of what I think is happening to a lot of these companies as well. No one's doing a quality check on the stuff.
Yeah, and so we're going to test it. We're going to test it for ourselves. I have not told them yet. I would like them to unroll the bubble wrap. I will probably fall over in the grass if I do it, because 300 feet's a lot. So look, he looks thrilled, doesn't he? So
200 feet times how many different bubble wraps are we doing?
we're doing at least 5 we're going to check these people out, guys. We're going to check them out. So yeah, we're going to do one. It will be here soon. I don't know. Like I said, I've talked with both of them, but I didn't tell them I was telling you about that. But that is our plan. But we haven't got the bubble wrap in yet. We're waiting and have ordered it from all over. So we'll talk about it more. The video is out. I don't remember. His name is JL something. I'm not familiar. I did watch the video myself. I did watch it. But yeah, so it is out there. Selena wants to know, George, are you on Whatnot yet?
Oh, I actually started on Whatnot way back. I mean, I think it's been like a year and a half. I did it 3 or 4 times. I honestly, there's some great things about Whatnot. You can turn a lot of merchandise quickly, and if you have an audience, you can get pretty good prices for things. When I was doing it, to be honest, they really didn't have a good audience for what I sold, and the prices I was getting were not very encouraging for me to want to do a lot more of it. And so I kind of drifted away from it. And in the interim, I see reasons it would be worth getting back into. And I think I probably do just fine there now because a lot of other people are, and it's going well. It's an efficient way to sell a lot of things more quickly. But to be honest, I still do a lot of real world selling. I'm going to have a big warehouse sale at my storehouse for the Highway 41 sale, which is June 23rd and 24th. And so, I'll sell $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff in all likelihood at that event. And all I have to do is price it, put it out, advertise it, and have people come carry it away. So I don't have to ship anything. So I honestly, I have enough other alternatives to sell things in that manner that it just hasn't come back into my consciousness yet. I've actually been doing pretty well on eBay during a time when everybody else has been saying that they really haven't been doing so well. So I've just been emphasizing that more, to be truthful.
Yeah, and it's not everybody. There are like we had Kaylee Elaine on last week, and those girls are kicking butt with clothing on eBay. It is not everybody. There's a good majority. Mine was down, but my time into eBay was also down. So does that correlate? Probably so. And I want to say with George too, like I get less than half of what I would get on eBay.
Exactly.
I do not get those prices, but you have to kind of weigh it. You get it the same day. But with hard to ship, I wouldn't do it with glass and breakables. The shipping for less money, I would not be,
excited about that. Exactly.
Very excited to do that. Yes, exactly. But with jewelry is not very hard to ship.
Right.
Oh, and Marcia said, and somebody else said it in the chat too, so thank you. I saw it, but I don't remember who it was. Padded flat rate you can have as an option on eBay, but you have to put 12 by 10 by 1 into the measurements, and then it will pull up padded flat rate. So you have to have those measurements in, otherwise it won't come up. Julianne says she received an email from a buyer saying the item was damaged in shipping. I told him to open up a case with the postal service and to keep me posted. Is that correct?
It's not a bad place to start if you had insurance on the piece, because then there's a report at the post office. They've seen the package. So if you think you can make an insurance claim, but ultimately the buyer can and will come back to you. And if they don't get satisfaction from the post office, they're going to want you to refund it. I mean, it's just as simple as that. And you're probably going to have to. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad way to start. If you had insurance on the piece and it's obvious that the post office jumped up and down on it a bunch, then it's really helpful if you can get the person on the receiving end to take it in so that they have proof of that. But it doesn't necessarily make a difference in the long run. You're still probably going to have to make it good no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I think too. It's almost not worth the effort.
You do have to have the buyer on your teams in order to get that to work. So the way that we've done it is we'll initiate the claim on our end as the seller, but you have to have the buyer in your court, because in our experience, you know, we shipped out a swung vase recently that shattered, you know, unfortunately in shipping. And, you know, you've got to have your buyer save the box, save all the packing, save all the pieces, and keep it until the post office reaches out and says, hey, we need you to bring that. So it's very, it's a lot of trouble for your buyer. And if it's a really expensive item, then definitely go, you know, try your hardest to get that claim, you know, submitted. But in our experience, we have not had luck with claims to the post office.
And even this past time, that she was a really good customer and really anxious to help us, and still she didn't realize that you had to take the glass pieces themselves, and she thought they were dangerous to be lying around, and so she had thrown those away but saved the wrecked packaging. But that wasn't good enough for the post office. They denied it. So
yeah, I had one recently a few months ago where the woman was in Georgia and somehow the post office read the state incorrectly. I don't know how that's done because I thought it was all visual optical scatters, but they sent it to Guam. I ended up having to refund the customer, and finally 6 weeks later it showed up. And then she contacted me, and she was very sweet, and she sent me the money for the piece and gave it back to me, which was really nice of her. But I mean, she went through hell with the post office trying to get them to get that piece back. And they knew it was in Guam, and it still took them weeks and weeks to do anything about it. So good luck.
So anytime you have a claim, make sure that the buyer files a claim through eBay first, because they have to upload pictures and other things to eBay, and you can actually use those for your insurance claim depending on the amount the item is. So always make sure the buyer goes to the proper channel and go through eBay first, because at the end of the day, you can't file a claim. I think it's 10 or 14 days is when you can officially file a claim to the post office. So if I was a buyer and you made me wait 10 days and my item just arrived before I can file a claim and stuff like that, I'd be upset with that. So that's going to be your first step. And as they were saying, if it's a higher end item over an X amount of dollars, you have to provide the box, and you have to do that information on there.
Even if it's not high end now, Rod, they want the friggin' box for like $30.
See, for me, anything under like $200, I never had an issue. I just got a refund every single time from them. But anything I had over like it was either $200 or $300, I actually had to provide pictures of the box, or I try to use pictures of the box and stuff like that. Anything that can help your case, but sometimes they actually want to inspect it themselves. Because
how recently was that? Can I ask?
My last claim?
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of this lately. I would say December I had a ton around Christmas time though, just because packages were getting lost or they were just not arriving in time.
So the lost ones, they'll approve every time.
So you have to wait 14 days.
And I want to put this up here because my experience pre-COVID was that my claims were approved as long as I provided photos of the box, the item. Post-COVID, every single claim, and there have only been like 2 or 3, so it's not a lot. All of them have been denied. So I personally do not even bother submitting claims anymore. And you have to, like Marybeth and Laura said about having the buyer on your side, they want the box, they want the packing materials, they want the item. And it might not even be the closest post office to that buyer. I had a buyer have to go to 4 different post offices to find the person approved to approve the claim, and it still never got approved. So like on a buyer's end, if you ask me to run around to 4 post offices, I'm going to tell you to go jump off a bridge. Like, give me my money. So, you know, like I was lucky that buyer did it. I paid them for it. The claim never got approved. So the only claim, and I do increase my insurance because if it's lost, right? Like for me now, the only reason I get insurance is if it's lost. I hate to say that.
So let me ask you this. Are you shipping items to the post office that over like an X amount of dollars? Because for me, if it's over 300, if it's like $300 or more, I go through FedEx or UPS every time just to avoid.
So let me tell you a crappy thing about that. UPS, I couldn't file a claim. I had a $500 photograph ruined by UPS, shattered. They sent me the box back and said, we messed this up. They didn't even deliver it to the buyer. They literally took responsibility. So I go to UPS to file a claim, and they say, no, sorry, that was originated on another site. You need to go there. Go to eBay, and there's nowhere to get the claim. I went in circles and never, luckily the buyer wanted the piece of art without the frame and glass, and I was able to resend it to them. But I think, and I don't know if anybody in the chat is talking about this, the pirate ship I've heard is wonderful for helping with this. And so honestly, what I might do is,
because they take responsibility for you.
Right, is switch to pirate ship for those higher dollar items.
Are you, Kat, are you also doing signature comp? So yeah, anything over $300, I would do signature.
Yeah, I do. I increase. So like the 15, you guys would laugh so much at this bracelet. So we wrapped the bracelet in quilt fabric, first paper, then quilt fabric, because I didn't want the cotton to get stuck in the filigree. And then we put it in a 6x6, and then we bubble wrap the 6x6, and then we put it in an 8x8 for a bracelet. But it was a $1,500 bracelet. Yeah, so see, Tay's saying pirate ship. So my experience with UPS printed via eBay was there was no way to file the claim. It was a repeated circle. And I want to put this up too. V-Trider is right. We are not trying to discourage you. Returns and damages are I haven't had anything actually since that UPS frame that has had an issue. And that was almost a year ago. So yeah. It really is not common, guys, but just beware. I mean, you can try, but expecting that buyer to go to possibly multiple post offices, I think is asking too much of them. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I agree with that. I just wouldn't want to ask a buyer to do that. But I was just going to say, as something that I recently learned, that this conversation just triggered something. I didn't realize. So when we do live sales, we do a lot of shipping through pirate ship. That's how we ship. And so a lot of times, especially like we're in Kentucky, so especially like out on the West Coast and the Northwest, Washington State and stuff, the priority shipping is really high. So a lot of times I would switch to USPS ground. And I did not realize until this happened that if USPS ground, if it gets shipped and it gets like shipped to the wrong address, or they can't find it, you have to pay, and you have to pay when it gets shipped back to you. So like, so like I didn't realize that. So if you priority, you don't, but if you send it ground instead of priority, USPS ground, like I shipped one out to California and it was to the wrong address. And so they returned it to me, the post office did, as non-deliverable. But then I had to pay to pick it up. I had to pay the same shipping again, like $11, $12 again to get it back.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was today years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that was
when I learned that.
Yeah, that was my today years old thing. So now then I hesitate to do that.
Wow, that is really, really good to know. And I didn't answer your original question. Her original question was it correct to ask the buyer to open up a case? I would not ask my buyer to do that. I would do that for them. You could, but I think that's your responsibility as a seller, I feel like, personally. But you can, either the seller or the buyer can open up a case. I've opened it up as a buyer, but not since COVID. I'm telling you, it's like they dropped the hammer when COVID started, and they don't approve anything anymore, unfortunately.
Kat, I have to address something here. You literally put up Tay Pig. Have you seen the picture on there? This is the funniest comment of the night. I haven't seen you since MySpace. It's Tom from MySpace. That means just dying over here.
I have seen that picture.
Yeah.
We have a super chat. I don't want to forget it. We're like having so much fun here chit-chatting. Bridget sent a $9.99 super chat and said, how do you block people? I feel like I'm being punished lately from eBay because I got a bad comment where the buyer lied 100%. So I would assume that's probably a negative. And like we were talking about earlier, I do feel the algorithm will punish you for a while if it was a negative.
Yeah, it's funny. After listening to you earlier talk about feedback, I had not really thought about that part. And if you are doing a lot of stuff, or you have a store where you're trading and you've got lots and lots of listings, that could really hurt you. It seems like, for me, because my listings are more sporadic, that it hasn't too much. I did have a similar situation though, where we sold a bunch of coins to a guy and they were expensive. And so there was insurance on them, and he wanted a better rate on the shipping. So we knocked some off the shipping, sent them as agreed, and then got negative feedback from the person because we charged too much for shipping, even though we lowered the shipping to the amount that he agreed to pay.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had to go to eBay and have a big harangue with them to get that feedback removed. And it was not easy to get it removed. So we did block, and it's pretty easy. I can't remember exactly because it's the only person I've ever had to block on eBay. But
George, you're too nice.
It's
George,
I love you.
Well, I try to be. I mean, most people mostly mean well, but this guy, no, he knew what he was doing. He knew the deal. He agreed to the deal, and then he decided to try to screw us. So we did respond, and we did block him from future bids. But I'm not too hot on blocking people for the most part. I found usually, like if it's a situation where they don't pay, because I do live sales on YouTube too, and I found the same thing there. If they don't pay, if they don't follow through, they usually just don't come back. I mean, I've never had a situation where somebody who didn't follow up on a transaction then decided it was okay to bid again on something later. I'm sure that happens, but I've never really experienced it. So really, that's the only person I've ever blocked, and it was because of the feedback situation.
I would like to know how to block too, because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever blocked anybody.
All right. Easiest way.
I just pulled up and showed Mark my blocked list.
Google how to block someone on eBay, and there's a link will just pop up, and you can click on it. There's a
But
link.
there's also a shortcut, Rod. There's a shortcut on the Seller Hub.
Seller Hub, yeah.
So, there's a couple of reasons why my block list is like a mile long, but I've been selling eBay for 20 plus
This
years.
is bigger than mine.
Yeah, but the reason for that is the categories I sell in. So like sports cards, video games, comic books. When you're dealing with high end collectibles, you can get what they call shield billing, where people go in there and they'll set my offers because they may have the similar item up there and they want to get a high comp. So that's part of the reason why a lot of people do that.
Oh,
And then also too is you have people that you may have a rare. So for example, like you may have a real rare like comic book that has a newsstand which has a UPC code in the bottom corner, which are only like 5% were sold at newsstands compared to sold at a comic book store. So if I'm the only one that has on eBay and you have one on eBay, now you have another account, you accept my offer. Now you're the only one on eBay that has a high comp on there. So a lot of other people will do that to get your item off eBay because remember, it takes 4 days. If you file a non-paying complaint, it takes 4 days for that before you can actually file that. So that item may sit in limbo for 4 days before you actually relist it. So there is a little science behind it when it comes to that. So that's why I just block them. If you don't pay for my item, I'm blocking you because I don't want you to do that to me or come back and try to be a target in the future for that.
Yeah,
wow.
that's crazy. That's so tricky.
Yeah,
That is.
People are sneaky.
Yeah.
It's scary. They're sneaky. And my block list is not overly crazy, but it is significant. And for me, I have started telling people, like, if you send me a $2 offer on a $50 item, I decline you. And I say repeated low offers will result in you being blocked from this store or making any future purchases. So if you send me $3 the next time, you're going on my list. Like,
That's great.
it takes 2 seconds to decline them. Yeah. I just, like, under 50% I take as an insult. And I know it's just business and they're trying to get stuff cheap, but I don't want to deal with them. I just don't want to deal with them. And that's my decision to not deal with them. But now I give them a warning. Like, if you do this again, I'm going to, and you know what? It has really stopped the repeated low offers, like without me blocking, like they stop because maybe they really want it and they need to save up or something, whatever. So now they get a fair warning. You do it again.
That's really interesting. I've got to say, it's interesting hearing the different categories because I think we're in a nice little bubble in the antique and vintage world where maybe it's a little older, more established clientele, so we just don't run into some of this stuff, whereas you're doing a lot of collectibles that appeal to a little younger demo, and you're doing a lot of general reselling. So it is interesting how people behave depends on who your customer is.
No, you're 100% right too. But also too, remember, like, sports cards is the number one selling category on eBay.
Right.
And they did what, first quarter, I think they did almost $1 billion like in sales just on sports cards.
Wow.
So like, when you have categories like that, you're going to have a lot of manipulation in the market, unfortunately, because everyone's trying to work the system. And you're right. I mean, when you're dealing with antiques, you're dealing with a lot of one-offs as well, where with cards, you can deal with like 101s or 105 stuff like that, but it's just a different market because it's a hot commodity,
Yeah, and I never thought of the idea that somebody would do something to get your item off the market while they were listing theirs. That's very devilish and clever and really terrible.
Very.
Devilish and clever. Devilish and clever at the same time.
I was laughing in the chat because somebody said no soup for you. Hey, Kat, can I ask you something real quick about that? Do you does it just take like too much time? Do you not put minimum offers in?
So I stopped that years ago because I've learned I might have that item for 3 years and I've lowered the price. And it's funny. It's like your highest accepted offer is higher than, like, I try and lower it to less than I was willing to take in the beginning. So I don't do that anymore. And also, so the longer I've had it, I'm willing to take less. So that minimum offer I'm willing to accept changes over time.
That's a good,
and I always worry somebody's going to come in like a penny lower than it. I decline, like the auto decline does. And then, I lose that business. So that's why, and it really takes 2 seconds to, either decline or counter offer. And it's not, I don't feel it's a lot of time, because if you have, like, you might want only, $20 or more, but if you've had it a year, you might be willing to take $15 to get it, out the door. So I think it could be dangerous because it's not something I think most people would remember to go back and check. Because it's not like your price. It's not on that front page. So if you don't go and check it, then you wouldn't really see it, if that makes sense. That's why I stopped doing it.
Another reason too, Kat, like for you weren't ending your items and relisting them. So you had 6,000 items that could be sitting up there for 1, 2, 3 years in your store. And if someone sent you an offer, the markets do change and fluctuate. So what that item was worth, say the item, you had an item for $200 and now the market's, sitting at $50, $75 for it, and you're declining, at 75% or below, you're automatically going to lose those sales. So I highly recommend removing that from all your listings.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here, I'm not blasting you. I'm not waking you up an hour and a half into the show. This one has the sound adjusted. Here is your super chat. All right. Oh, and I don't know if I know George hasn't been on Whatnot. Marybeth and Laura, I don't know if you know any about the Whatnot new shipping rules rolling out. I just made rules and rolls, one word. And how will it affect us?
Do you know, Laura? That's not my jam.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know as much as I should know yet about the shipping. But I do know they're making some changes and stuff, and there are people that are kind of upset about it. But nobody likes change, right? So, when Whatnot first started out, they were doing this promotional thing where you paid regular shipping on the first item and then $1 for every item after that, which was really terrible in the jewelry category. People lost money on that. Buyers got charged more shipping than they would have, but in our category, that was great. But yeah, now then they're just saying people are mad because the changes involved are that you can't go back. Like you're going to have to pay if you don't estimate your shipping right? So people are underestimating the weights on their shipping, which really makes a huge difference in the 2 to 3 pound category, 1 to 2 to 3 pounds. So they're cheating the weight so that the item sells faster because the shipping's not as much. And then, Whatnot is eating the cost of the difference in the shipping. And now they're not going to do that anymore.
I mean, I think there's a lot of sellers out there that were abusing it, though. That's part of
it. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah,
I'm not too upset about it. I mean, I think that you should, here's what I don't understand, Rod. I don't know if you know, but I don't understand. So in Whatnot shipping model, it's, the weight is the only categories. You can't pick the size of the box. You know what I mean? You can't pick the dimensions.
Right.
And really, the dimensions is what really affects the price of the shipping. So
for the higher, the heavier, bigger stuff.
So I don't understand how they're going to solve that problem. I mean, it's not my fault. I told you it was going to weigh a pound. I didn't tell you it was going to be a 6x6 box or a 12x12,
14 by 14, 1 pound ball.
I mean, my only thought on that is because they ship in bulk, they're going to have a bulk deal with one of the shipping companies, and maybe they have that worked out around there. Because that's a good point. I mean, that's just not something I actually thought about. So
yeah, I mean, I just think that's where a frustration could be. Like, I can't fix that. I can't. They don't ask you how big my box.
So I don't think they're penalizing for dimensions, though. It is just weight. So there are going to be positive and negative aspects. I have not read all this. I am not an expert on it. I would recommend you guys join the Facebook group Whatnot for resellers. That they discuss all of this stuff. That's where I learned what I did. So the buzz is exactly what the lady said. If you put it weighs 4 ounces and it weighs a pound, you're going to get charged now.
Well,
and is that wrong? But some people were using that incorrectly, where they know it weighs a pound and they put 4 ounces. Like, you could go in and see like this big 3 pound collectible and it's at $5 shipping, where all of us know that thing weighs 3 pounds. So I think too many people did that. But on the flip side, it also will roll out to buyers where it will save them. So right now it's always like a quarter extra for my jewelry. If it's 1 ounce, it's a quarter extra. It's going to roll out where you could buy up to 4 ounces of jewelry from me and you wouldn't pay any additional on the other pieces. So it's going to roll out where it's better for buyers too. The thing is that you really have to make sure that your weight is right. So for me with jewelry, I typically will put 1 to 2 ounces. Even in a poly, most jewelry is 1 to 2 ounces. So I was choosing like 2 to 4, and that was charging my buyers like 50 cents or $1 because it was doing 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces. So now I do 1 to 2 and it only charges them a quarter. And it's actually really spot on when we are mailing out. We're not having packages go over, but it is making where the sellers really need to weigh the item and know before. And like, I'll be the first to admit, we did not weigh a lot of our bag lot jewelry, and those were over. So now we are numbering each bag because one might be 2 pounds and one might be 3, where before we would put 2 to 3. Now we're like, okay, we got to weigh each bag. So, I mean, we were being a little, laissez-faire about it.
But also, too, though, I mean, if you sell on eBay, because most people that sell on Whatnot were selling on eBay. If you put the wrong weight in on eBay, you're going to get eBay bills you anyway. So it should be no different than what you guys have already experienced selling on eBay, selling thing. I mean, I would get emails saying, hey, you were underweight or you're overweight. You get charged an extra $2.
You're going to pay.
Yeah. So
There
I mean,
should be no uproar.
yeah. So I mean, it shouldn't really be an issue for anyone because if you're selling on eBay, eBay does the same
If you were
thing.
being honest,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you would be all right.
It's just they were letting them get away with it for so long, and that's why it's an issue now.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think the other issue is people. I think they misspoke in some of the onboarding. You know, when they were teaching people what to do, they said some.
They
people
told him
do-
to weigh the item before packed, I heard, right?
Right.
Oh.
And so nobody knows how, they don't know how to estimate the packing and stuff correctly. Right. And nobody wants to go through and pack the stuff ahead of time. I mean, you get used to that as
Right.
eBay sellers, but the whatnot sellers they don't know how to estimate that and stuff. So I think that's what's bothering some
People are getting on there without a history of reselling and don't know how to pack.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
like reselling 101.
Mhm.
Like if you're going to sell and ship, you need to learn how, and I'm not being mean, but you need to learn how to sell and ship. And you need to know what you're doing. You don't go, oh, I'm going to do this and oh crap, what do I put this in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I sold 5 items on whatnot. And that is what's happening is people are rushing into this with no clue what they're doing.
Well,
Oh,
And that's scary.
but I also
Oh.
think it too is because they're opening the marketplace now. Since the marketplace is open up, now people don't have to actually run live auctions. You can just list your items in your store now, and that's just like selling on eBay or selling on Etsy or selling on another platform. So I think they had to put a stop to it now before they unleash the floodgates.
yeah, absolutely. I've thought from the beginning that Whatnot's whole shipping scenario was going to cause big problems for Whatnot that they would eventually have to address because, you know, this, especially the early model, I mean, that had to have cost them a fortune. And
Yeah,
maybe
they
it
lost
might-
some money there.
Oh yeah. And I mean, at some point, honestly, they're probably going to end up being a lot more like eBay. You're going to weigh the thing, you're going to have the exact dimensions, and you're going to have the exact weight because this sort of guesstimating. I mean, I used to do a lot of guesstimating when I didn't sell a lot online, and it was just like, well, I think it's about this, and then half the time I'd be over, and half the time I'd be under, and that's essentially what Whatnot is doing as a business. And you know, hopefully it works out, but it just seems like, at some point it's going to have to become. I know when I first was doing it, they were like, "Is it the size of a Funko Pop?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it weighs 7 pounds. I'll be happy to sell it and sell it for the price of a Funko Pop."
That's great. Yeah, like what size?
It looks like Funko Pop. It smells like Funko Pop. It must be a Funko Pop. Sure.
All right, this is an opinion question. Ren said she had someone contacted her and wanted to trade items after she purchased. She asked if she could cancel one item to trade for another item. And she said no, she canceled and blocked her. What would you have done? I'm assuming the buyer's asking to cancel something and they wanted something else in place.
Boy, it would really depend on the situation because that's so specific. I mean, if it was somebody who legitimately, oh, I see you have another one that I like better, or there's some really good reason for it, then I might well consider saying, sure, yeah, you can trade, or I can't really give you a refund, but if you want to trade for this other thing, if it's a lesser value, you can have the same thing. You know, it would just depend. On the other hand, if it just seems like just some sort of a bait and switch, and then, oh, I'm going to cancel this and then have you send me another item and then say I wasn't sent the item I bought, you know, then you start getting into another kettle of fish. So, you know, I guess it really is an opinion thing. I guess I'm inclined to want to believe that my customer really wants to do business with me, and that if they ask something like that, I'm going to see if I can accommodate them and if it seems legit. But I realize that that could also be a setup for a big scam.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. We're really careful about people contacting us regarding eBay items, or, you know, contacting us on eBay about things that we've got for sale other places. I'm just like, we don't talk about that here. You know, I want to make sure to do everything very on the up and up as eBay communication is concerned. Now, if this is a private matter and somebody emails us privately over something that they've seen in one of our videos or one of our sales or something, that's a whole nother story. And we're happy to work with people that way all day long. But as far as eBay is concerned, I would want the first transaction to be canceled or refunded or whatever, and then let's deal with the second item separately. That would be me.
That's probably the best way to do it. Like silly me, I probably would be like, oh yeah, we can trade. But then, I read all these messages like the bait and switch and all that I don't even ever think about.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's probably the best, most professional thing to do.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if you send them that item and then they send a picture and put it on eBay and say, "Hey, this is not what I bought,"
Exactly.
that would be a red flag. But eBay can go back through your messages, and then you just open up a can of worms, and you're just gonna go through a big hassle and a headache. The best thing would be is saying, "Hey, I can just cancel that item, issue a refund, just purchase the proper item, and I can get it sent out." I mean, that would be the route I would go. I don't know if I would block them because it could be just someone just saw something after they purchased and was having buyer regret and just wanted to, swap it out. But you just always got to protect yourself and be cautious. So, I mean, you're doing the right thing. I think there's a red flag there because there are a lot of scams on eBay. But especially scammers do target people that do have lesser feedback. Remember that, or newer accounts. So they do look that up before they target people. So just be careful.
Yeah, but for me, if she wanted to cancel it, like where you were legit canceling the item, I would cancel it, refund her money, and ask her to purchase the other item. I don't think I would have blocked her because she was wanting, or he was wanting to get something else, if I'm reading it right. Now, if they were, asking me to send something in its place, then I wouldn't. But it sounds like they wanted to cancel it and get something different instead, which to me, I'd still be getting a sale from them. So I don't think that would have irritated me. I would have just switched it out for them, if I'm understanding it right.
Yeah, I would put yourself in the buyer's shoes as if you were the buyer. Like, what would you do in this situation? And don't automatically assume that somebody's trying to scam you every time. Just try to see it from their perspective first, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah. I'm quick. I am quick on the block button, but I do try to be understanding. I am not like there is like black and white. Unless you catch me on a bad day, and then I might. I don't know. MG Play 101. We do live streams every Tuesday night for the last 3 years at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. I have missed one. I have technically missed 2 whole ones. Rod carried the weight for me. But we are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have different guests every week on with us and take live questions every Tuesday. I canceled before, but to trade. Oh, yeah. So Ren, just to follow up, the buyer can only cancel, I think, the first 12 or 24 hours, and then the seller has to do it from their end. So that part isn't fishy. eBay only lets the buyer do it for a very, very short time. The seller has to do it.
You do have a drop down that said buyer wanted to cancel item as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can choose
seller,
it. Yeah, you can choose it. Susan is over on Facebook watching us. She said, when you open an eBay store, does it matter which store plan you pick to get a coupon for eBay? I'll just answer it. You have to get the $19.99 or more store. $19.99, I think, gives you $25 a quarter, and the $59.99 gives you a $50 coupon, which makes absolutely no math sense to me. We pay more and get less.
yeah.
But yeah, so the size of your store will depend on the amount of your coupon. V-Trider, and I don't, George, I don't think you do Poshmark, right?
I don't, because I don't want to tie little pink ribbons to boxes.
Oh my
I don't do that.
So Marybeth and Laura, do you guys sell on Posh?
We don't. We don't.
Okay, Rod, does Jess put little pink ribbons on her Poshmark stuff?
She actually has pink poly bags that she actually.
Oh my god. Okay.
No lie.
I mean, I don't do that. Bro.
She has pink
Hold on,
poly
Mark's
bags.
gonna get an example of for me. Mark, so he helped me ship, so he knows where my supplies are now. I do, but I use these on eBay too because they're just as cheap as plain ones. So here's my little pink thank you. You guys, if you know me, I love tropical looking. This is the same price as a solid white one. It's not anymore. No, you do not have to do. I have got stuff like that, and I don't think Dagny's in the chat. Flying Pig Thrifts. I think I was on the phone with Rod. Was it you, Rod? I opened her sticker. Dagny put her sticker in tissue paper, and I'm like, Dagny wrapped her tissue in tissue paper.
Yeah.
I do not do that on any platform. No platform are you getting tissue in a pink bow from me.
I can vouch for that. You can't do 60 and put tissue paper on everything.
Like, Mark was wanting to do, I'm like, just put it in the box or stuff it in a poly, like, get it out. And Mark said something, I'm like, I have 100% feedback. Go look at it. There aren't complaints. All, in my opinion, on all the platforms, all a buyer wants is their stuff to get to them and get to them safely. So, no. And I'm one of those people that I don't really appreciate the I was like, Dagny, why did you wrap this? And hopefully Dagny don't kill me. It was very nice. But like, I would never, you're not going to get a sticker wrapped in tissue paper from Cat ever. You're just not.
I went to buy some stuff from a fellow in Illinois, and he had gotten something from Misty at Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter, and he was giving me boxes to use, and I reached for the box that came from her, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm keeping that." I mean, it was full of like confetti and glitter.
I heard about that. She does like all this crazy stuff.
There was just a whole party going on inside that box, and I was like, "Wow, well, good for her."
Party in a box. I don't have time to put parties in boxes. Okay, I just don't.
Confetti.
Like like I said, with 60, like, you don't have time, and I think it would be nice if I had time, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I rip right through that. Like, I'm not preserving. It's going to get thrown over there in the corner to get stuffed into somebody else's box. I just want my item to get there, and I want it to be safe. For me, that's the bottom line. Selena, I was looking this up. I do have same day payouts. I have had same day payouts on Whatnot, and she clarified. I asked her in the chat to clarify. For a long time now, because I've sold over 16,000 items on Whatnot. So if you guys don't know, you get the payout when you print the label on Whatnot after you've had 1,000 sales. Yeah, but that's crazy. I had to look it up. I've sold 16,321 items on Whatnot since September. I started in September.
That's crazy, Pat.
It is. It is. We do 100 a show, and we do 5 to 7 shows a week. So, yeah. Lewis wants to know, do free returns eliminate negative feedback?
Didn't for me. The guy who the negative feedback came from he was mad about something else, and it didn't matter that we gave free returns. But it probably helps a little bit. And eBay's going to make you, I don't know. I mean, it really is up to the person. I actually state that I don't do returns unless there's an obvious reason that I have to. It's broken. It got, damaged. It wasn't what what was described, obviously, the things that eBay would make you take back for. But I don't allow just general returns on anything, because when eBay first came out, it was a real problem, actually, because people would see something that was in perfect condition that they had a damaged one of and order it and then send you back the damaged one and things like that. And so, I want people to bid if they're serious. So I say no returns, but of course, obviously we do returns when it's our fault or something that we've done that causes the problem.
I don't think you can ever 100% eliminate negative feedbacks, because there's always going to be that one person out there, right, who just wants to say something tacky no matter what. But I don't even know. Do we have free returns on all of our listings? I feel like we do.
I don't think that we do.
Do we not?
Mm-mm.
I was wrong.
We haven't. We do. The only returns that really have come up lately have just been your basic, my kid ordered the item or whatever. So I think we aren't I haven't gotten serious enough with all my listings and stuff to go for that top rated seller.
Right.
It's a top rated seller thing.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
I'm going to do it, but right at this minute, I think that we have no returns on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it saves you 10% if you put it on there and stuff like that. But you have to ship out within 1 day as well.
Right. We're not doing that. I've got 2 days.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So
And if you have free returns, they cannot leave.
when it comes to free returns, there's not anything that you can do that's going to eliminate negative feedback. So it doesn't matter if you have free returns on there. Don't matter if you give the best customer service in the entire world. At some point in time, you can't please everybody. So the best thing to do is just keep doing what you can do best, because negative feedback's going to come regardless of how good of a seller you are. And Kat's the best, so she gets tons of negative feedback. So
Tons. Even though
They're all
I have 100% feedback right now. So here's the deal. If you're a top rated seller, you offer free 30-day returns, and they open a return, they cannot leave you negative feedback. I had something like 15 removed one year. When I looked, I figured out how to see it. It is, so if you have free returns, you're top rated, and they open a return and they leave negative feedback, it does not ever see your page. So that is one benefit to being top rated and doing free returns. So a lot of times I'll give them a refund, like even if it's my fault, like George said, and I'll say, please open a return, and then I will issue you a refund. And you don't have to ship it back. The reason I did that, because I don't want them to leave me negative feedback. So because it, like in that case, it's my fault, I'm letting them keep it, I'm not making them return it. That is not my husband. That is Mark, OG, and Z sitting beside me. Sorry, I had to address that really quick. So yeah, so that's the benefit. So like George, in your situation, if you had free returns on and you were top rated and that guy returned it, his negative feedback would have never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not to the point.
That's a nice benefit of it.
Yeah, that's interesting to know. Maybe I need to work towards that slowly.
And you really don't get many, and they can open it as not as described and get it free for you anyways.
And just
Right.
to clarify, free shipping, free returns doesn't automatically limit it. You have to be you have to have the top seller and in that category to go through all that.
Right.
So
all right, we might get through. Listen, I think we're going to get through all the questions. We have a super chat from Liz, $1.99, said thanks for the entertainment. I feel like we're more entertaining tonight, and it's been a fun night. Tonight's been a very good show. Here is your dolphin. Dun, dun,
I think it was
dun,
all
dun.
that talk about blocking and negative feedback.
Everybody's scared to even ask us questions anymore. We're going to make it through them all.
Yeah. Man, I really wish you would put Marybeth on one of those dolphins on your next super chat.
You gotta contact Gino. Marybeth would like to ride a dolphin.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Gino, he was on with us. Was it last week, Rod, or the week before?
no, last week I think.
Yeah, Gino was just on with us. He has a channel, Gino's Finds, that does all the super chats for me.
Yeah, don't ask me though. I can't even look at a calendar right. So apparently, who knows?
Listen, Aunt Roberta. So Brad's Aunt Roberta, she's actually in her 80s. She's been cataloging our Whatnot shows for us. And she messaged me. She's like, Thursday is not there. And so I looked, I'm like, Thursday is there, Aunt Roberta. It's June 1st. She's like, no, it can't be June yet. And she said, never mind. Just don't listen to me. And she said she looked at May instead of like rolling it to June. She just like went back to the 1st. I was like, nope, that's not Thursday. That happened today. And I told her, I don't know the day. Huh?
I was
today years old when I learned that June 1st is Thursday. So Vicky said she had a buyer accept her offer. She's in Canada. She says the postage says it's $47 and the shoes are $16. What would you tell her? She wants me to refund some of the shipping.
Okay, so the buyer accepted the offer. So at this point, it's kind of on the buyer the buyer knows they're in Canada. The buyer probably could see the description and have a sense of it. I know Canada is a little tricky because prices can be really high. $47 seems really high. I wonder what part of Canada she's in. You know, when she says she wants you to refund some of the shipping, it sounds like the item was already sent. But I don't think that's correct. I think that's just coming across that way. So to me, I mean, I sell to people in Canada and I really enjoy my Canadian customers, but you know, they know the situation. And I mean, the only thing I could think to suggest, which I did with one and it actually worked, is I said, you have a work address that's maybe in a different postal code. And we actually were able to lower the price by sending it to their work. But beyond that, no, it's your, you know, your buyer made a decision to buy the piece, and it really kind of, to a certain extent, I mean, you know, unless there's something about the way you're shipping it that's making it unusually expensive, I don't know why that would be a reasonable request.
Yeah, and I mean, especially, you know, if the product that you've sold is only around $16, I mean, you don't want to refund too much, or you're not getting anything for your product. So,
I mean, I would offer to cancel it.
Right. But I'm with George. I mean, you know, they should know that, especially if they've already accepted the transaction.
So what the problem probably is that she's in Canada, you're in the international shipping program, so she's paying to ship it. She's paying the shipping, the $10 or $12, whatever it is, to ship from your location to the warehouse. And then she's paying another $20 or $30 to ship from the warehouse to Canada because you're now enrolled in the international shipping program. Right. Unfortunately, eBay controls that shipping cost for those items, and you cannot change or discount those items if you're going through the international shipping program. So that was my take on the situation, because I've had that too, especially when I send out offers to the buyers, and they'll accept it, and then they go to pay, and then that's when they see all the additional shipping costs on there. But she sent out, because it says she sent out an offer, so that's, I'm assuming, what happened, because they may see I don't know how it looks from the international side when they're looking at the listings, but I know that, you know, it's going to have the U.S. shipping on there. They're going to have their own international shipping, but a lot of times when they go to cash out, there's port taxes and other things that are also added in there. So that could be what's causing it.
One thing to consider might be to see if you shipped it through pirate ship directly instead of international shipping, if you could get that price down to a more reasonable level where there weren't two different segments of the trip.
But if her account's enrolled in the international shipping program, she has to ship through the eBay shipping program.
She has to.
She's still going to get charged because she has to ship it to the warehouse, and then they charge eBay charges. eBay sets the price for international shipping. You're only worried about domestic shipping only, and then they charge the buyer the separate cost. So you actually don't see that on your side. What that is on that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my only thought is check your weight, because if it's a pair of shoes, most shoes aren't over 2 pounds. And you might have it at 3 or 4 pounds. That dollar amount sounds like a 3 or 4 pound rate to Canada to me. So I would weigh it and make sure, and you might be able to refund some to her. So if it is a 2 pound item, you could refund. It's probably only a $13 difference. And it will go down, but Rod might be right. Like if it's in international, it might be locked in. So me personally, I would tell her, I'm sorry, that's the price. It's set by the weight and the dimensions. I'm happy to cancel it, because she could just return that sucker on you, and then you're going to be an even more negative.
Right.
I would say.
But if she's enrolled in the new international shipping program, they handle all the returns now, so you don't have to handle those.
Right.
Oh, that's true. So, so I would check your weight first. All right, let's try and answer these really fast, because we only have 4 and I really want to get through it. And George has a premiere coming up. Okay. Amy, the problems we were discussing earlier, yes, were with insured items. So we can answer that quick. George, do you know the answer to this one? Is there a specific way to ship perfume?
I've shipped a lot of it. I know that they don't love it when you do it, and you are supposed to declare it. but you can do it in a pretty safe manner. I always first wrap it in something where if for some reason it leaks, that it's not going to pour out all over the box, you know, some sort of a sealed container, some sort of a sealed bag with lots of shipping tape, whatever it takes. And then you just ship it like anything else. But I try to make sure it's upright and really, really packed in where it cannot move around. And nothing's going to, you know, land on top of it that squirts it out of an atomizer into the box or that kind of thing. And I've honestly shipped a lot of perfume and not really had a problem with it.
Yeah, and it just has to go ground by USPS rules. It can't go
an
air program. Yeah. I don't know if we can answer this quick. We can try. How do you decide to put an item up for auction or buy it now?
I almost do. Right now, I've been doing most of my listings as auctions with or without a buy it now. And whether I decide to put a buy it now on is a function of if I feel pretty confident in what I think the final price should be or what things are mainly selling for of that type, especially if it's a fairly relatively common item, I'm more likely to put a buy it now on and just let somebody have fun with it. On the other hand, you know, it depends on your situation. Like I was saying earlier, I was out of town. I was running auctions. I couldn't do buy it now, so I just didn't do any. And, you know, you can play around with it and see what works best for you.
We feel way more comfortable with the buy it now.
We do.
Yeah.
I think all of ours almost exclusively are buy it now. We will do an auction item if we feel like we have something special or something that's more scarce. We'll try an auction.
But I think for the most part, we could get more with a buy it now price, you know, than just letting it go up for auction at any old.
Right.
You know, if I do put something up at auction, I don't start it at $4. You know what I mean?
Right. And we're comfortable with leaving listings up for an extended amount of time. So we're comfortable with that. And, you know, if it doesn't sell immediately, that's fine. We expect, you know, that it will sell eventually.
Yeah, so if you're selling like everyday items, you probably want to do buy it now. If you're selling some, depending the category that you're selling in, I would say is if you are going to run auctions, make sure you put it at the minimum amount that you want that item to go for, start it out, because you have no idea what that market is going to be. For me, the categories I sell in, if I do auctions, 9 out of 10 times they're going to sell below market value. So it doesn't make sense for me to do that, but you can move items faster. So the only time that I run an auction is if I have like a big lot of like items I don't want to separate and go through. It's going to take more time for me to list them individually. If I just want to move a lot or try to move some merchandise, that's when I run auctions. But majority of the time, I'm going to do buy it now because that works best for my business model.
Yeah, I do buy it now with accepting offers unless it's something that's rare, vintage, or something I think could go for more than possibly a normal number.
Yeah, and I agree with Rod. I do like 99.9% buy it now. Unless I'm on Whatnot, and then it's all $2 start. So you should come and see me tomorrow. There's a cheap plug. I think I can answer these last two really quick, and then we'll let everybody say bye. Call me Crafty Lady. Can you explain what counts towards free listings? So I think the thing that she said she's getting charged that catches up a lot of people is your listings refresh every month. So you don't get 250 each month. Like you can only have 250 listed and they roll over every 30 days. So if you have 250 listed this month and you list 250 more next month, you're going to be charged for those 250 because the first 250 will roll over at 30 days. So I typically tell people most times if you have over 250, you're better off to get a store because then you won't be charged. There are some categories, though, they give you free listings. And I think that's actually tailored specifically to the user. Like different users get different amounts of free listings in certain categories. So I would say that probably that rollover is what's getting you, would be my guess.
We got 7 minutes for George's premiere, by the way.
I know. I'm going. I have one more question. I can answer last. We haven't got through all the questions in forever. So you simply go to your order after you have shipped an item to refund them some. I just caution and remind you, remember eBay charges you a fee, and remember that you are paying for your box before you go send a refund. All right, I'm going to make George big. He's going to have a premiere. Marcia is going to drop the link in the chat for all of us to go join George over at his premiere. So here is George, and then we'll let Marybeth and Laura, and then Rod, Mark, and myself will tell you what we got going on. All right, here is George.
Oh, well, thank you all. I appreciate that. Well, it's just really good to be back doing this again. I've really kind of backed off on events with family stuff this spring, but I will be in New Harmony doing an appraisal fair at an antique show. If you're in Southern Indiana, that will be not next weekend, but the weekend after. And then I think I'll have my warehouse sale the 23rd and 24th. It's part of the Highway 41 sale, where there's sales all through Western Kentucky down this one highway. There's supposed to be another multi-dealer sale like a couple miles from me this year, which will be something new. So hopefully that'll bring people. And then I will be doing the Portland Rose City Vintage Market out in Portland on the weekend after July 4th weekend, and that should be a big show. Laura Caldwell's getting a bunch of outdoor dealers to go along with us indoor dealers, so that should be a lot of fun. Other than that, you know, I do my Monday and Wednesday premieres of new videos, and you're always welcome to drop by and join the chat at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, and there's the link. Marcia and Sunny both dropped the link. So definitely join George. And here is Marybeth and Laura.
Hi. Okay, so tomorrow is actually an awesome day because earlier you heard us talk about that huge collection of mid-century and vintage deer that we got at an online auction. So tomorrow, our regular weekly video is going to be going through the first couple boxes of those. And we do something on our channel that not everybody does, but you're welcome to email us if you ever see anything in our videos that you're interested in buying. So when that video drops tomorrow, if you see something that you can't live without, you can send us an email, and all that information is in the descriptions of our videos. So we welcome those emails, and we're happy to sell to you that way. We also do live streams every Friday night called Flippin' and Sippin'. That's at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we have a drink, we celebrate the weekend, we hang out with our friends, we sell some items, play some games, and have fun.
Yes, it's awesome. It's awesome. Please join us if you haven't had a chance to do that so far. And then on Whatnot, I'm trying to do the Whatnot thing. So on June the 23rd, we are in the Halfway to Christmas Kitsch train. So all weekend long that weekend, if you're looking for some vintage Christmas a little bit before Christmas in July, then you can come to that.
We might have an aluminum Christmas tree.
Might have an aluminum Christmas tree. Might have full power. So yeah. And then also on July the 7th, it's the anniversary of the estate sale extravaganza weekend, which is when we started Whatnot. A lot of people did. Amy's Rock and Pop Shop sponsors that, and that is really fun. And if that's a great time to try Whatnot if you haven't tried it yet and you like vintage and vintage decor. That would be a good weekend. We're going to go on right after Flippin' and Sippin' that weekend, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. And thanks again, Kat, for having us.
You are welcome. All right, Rod, what's going on?
So I dropped a new video today, a little controversial video where some buyer steps in and tries to take part of my deal. So go on there and let me know what you guys think.
Nice.
I drop new videos twice a week, every Tuesday, Fridays at noon. If we got through all the questions tonight, but if you guys have any questions that we didn't address or after this is over, feel free to hit me up on Facebook and or Instagram at Pickin' and Punchin'. I do answer all questions at any points of time. And I will be doing a live Whatnot a week from tomorrow, next Wednesday, doing some plush and probably maybe some DVDs. I don't know, plush, I think, at this moment right now. So come check me out on Whatnot. So everything starts at $2 and I give away a ton of stuff.
Awesome. Perfect. We're doing a drawing. Mark's going to tell you about it and what to put in. And you're going to have to type fast. You have 1 minute. George's premiere is starting.
What is it for? The camp listing party?
Yes, camp listing party, virtual tickets to watch. Rod will be speaking. I will be speaking. I forgot, and because Dalton was sick last week, I didn't do one. Tell him what to put in the chat.
Hashtag camping.
Hashtag camping. You got about a minute and a half. Put it in fast. Mark, tell him bye. Put it in now, guys. We're collecting.
Bye.
Bye. Go check out his
Next
channel.
video is coming out this week.
Yes, Mark put up his first video last week. He's going to have another one this week. He is OG and Z. Spell it out. We are collecting comments. I am going to share the screen really quick. And We will see how many do we have? 42 entries. The tickets are $50 if you don't win. I'm going to pick 2 winners, guys. 2 winners. I got to hurry. Be fast.
Yeah, remember, this is actually for the live virtual one, so you can sit at home.
George, you don't have to stay.
Right, George, you
Oh,
can
it's
go.
okay.
If you
We've got a few minute timer. Go do your thing.
All right, okay.
Okay. Well, last week I was in bed, so I was a talking eye because Dalton was very sick. So I was live from bed last week and I couldn't give away a ticket. So we're giving away 2. They are virtual tickets. You can watch all the speakers. You don't have to come to Phoenix. If you want to come to Phoenix and see us all, Mark will be there too, and Marsha, Red Cardinal Treasures will be there. We will all be there. My daughter Brooke will be there with us as well. She's going to be helping check everybody in at Camp Listing Party. And it is not only for List Perfectly people. It is a reseller conference, guys. You do not have to use List Perfectly. There are going to be some amazing, amazing speakers. Rod speaking on comics and grading, right, Rod?
Yeah, grading cards, VHS, toys, pretty much anything you want to grade, you want to learn about collectibles. That's what I'll be speaking about.
Yeah, and I don't know who I'm speaking about still. Trish, please tell me. All right, guys, let's pick the first one. We're going to pick 2. The first winner is Linda Early. You are the winner. So you just need to email Tiffany. Will you type that out? Tiffany at listperfectly.com. Let's pick another winner, guys. Dun, 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 dun.
You're going to use the same hashtag?
Yeah.
Exciting.
Easy.
I got to go. Well, no, I'm drawing from the same one. Oh,
Okay.
dollar bills, y'all. Got it. Yay.
Woohoo.
Ah. Okay, hold on. Let me stop screen. I will be live. No. No.
Okay.
Sorry, we're doing offers on Poshmark for the last 4 hours. I will be live on Whatnot tomorrow with, what am I going to have tomorrow?
Jewelry.
Oh, always. No, not always jewelry. Silver-plated gemstone jewelry is tomorrow. Vintage and Estate on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday is my resin artwork that I absolutely love. Marsha, can you drop Rod's channel again for Busy Girl? Thank you so much, George, Marybeth, and Laura, especially with me going cat after dark. Rod, thank you so much. Mark, thank you for coming on and helping me ship. We will see you guys next week. 2 seconds, and I will tell you who shall be on with us. Oh, it's Yvonne and Kate.
Oh.
Follow That Bug Vintage is who's going to be on with us next week. So we'll have a great show. Thank you all so much. Bye for now.
Thank